Hello again, Tim. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm still kind of recovering a little bit from this very fun weekend that we had. We kind of really threw ourselves into the USPSA experience this weekend and filled our weekend with travel and shooting. So
We did.
basically, what we did was we decided we wanted to shoot a couple matches down south in New Mexico, kind of roughly, generally 3 hours from Albuquerque. And so we found a central location of Ruidoso, which is an absolutely beautiful town in New Mexico. I got an Airbnb there for 2 nights, and then on Saturday we shot in Alien City, Roswell, New Mexico. We shot a local there,
Yep.
and we also shot on Sunday in Alamogordo. So we got to really fill our weekend with shooting and see some cool scenery and awesome stuff. And I personally really enjoyed shooting at new clubs and getting the flavor of their unique matches. And our USPSA experience continued in different ways. And I think we both had fun and learned some stuff. So I'd kind of like to go through all of that with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it actually kind of started Friday afternoon. You and our mutual friend, Joe Miller, traveled out to my neck of the woods out here in Stanley, New Mexico, to my range. And we practiced for about a couple hours or so. And just to get some rounds down range, get everything kind of acclimated and testing gear, make sure everything works. And then we kind of packed up your truck and started heading south. So we left Stanley, New Mexico, and went down to Ruidoso on Friday evening. Got there just in time for dinner. Had some killer burgers in
How
uh,
good were those, by the way? You
in
got to describe
Ruidoso.
who fries a burger and then puts like white gravy and green chili on. Oh my god, that was so
Yeah,
good.
that place was awesome. That place was awesome. So, but yeah, had a great night there, with friends and things. And then we got up early morning on Saturday, drove over to Roswell and helped them set up and shot the Alien City Practical Shooters, the Roswell, New Mexico match. It's a great club. It's a very small club, obviously, because Roswell, is a very small area. Would we kind of look up the population when we got there? It's like 40 some thousand people, I believe, in Roswell. So, but they've got a club of about, I think there was 20 or 21, 22 shooters or something like that at that match. They've got a beautiful facility, like huge bays, all kinds of cool stuff to do, as far as like in the shooting sports and things. So, and yeah, we shot 5 stages there, and it's great because there's a guy by the name of Trevor Ryan who is a single stack grandmaster out of that area. I actually think he's in Artesia and comes up to Roswell and shoots there. Like that's his home club. So it was good for me getting ready and prepared to shoot the US IPSC Extreme Open this coming week. It was good for me to kind of use these two matches this past weekend as kind of like a, I don't know, kind of a thermometer, so to speak, kind of just to make sure I'm kind of firing on all cylinders and kind of check my temperature, make sure I'm doing everything I need to. And Trevor beat me, I think, by 1.1 points. um,
Isn't that annoying? You go to a
yeah, we
podunk
were
town,
we were
expect to
super
smack
tight.
somebody,
We were
and then
super
it
tight all day on Saturday, and that I think the classifier is what kind of got me on that. I ended up pulling a mic right into the hardcover on one of the targets in the classifier. But I mean, stage
did
for
you have
stage, it was great
doubt?
to be on par with him.
Did you
I'm
have
sorry.
doubt? Like, did you have any doubt in yourself after that outcome, or like were there things you would have done different, or how
That's
did
the
you
thing.
think that result?
We had talked about that a little bit, on the drive back home to Ruidoso on Saturday evening. I remember you asking me like, so if there's anything you could do different, what would it be? And I mean, I honestly didn't really have any sort of response for that. I felt like I shot really, really well. And I'm shooting a minor gun, so 9 millimeter, 10 rounds. I don't think there's anything I really did I would do or approach any differently. It was just one of those things that happens. The mic I had or the miss I had in hardcover was like a quarter of an inch or a half an inch into hardcover. I didn't call a bad shot. It just one of those things that happens from time to time. So no, I felt good. Even though, it was kind of one of those things where I was like, okay, I'll clean it up and I'm going to attempt to shoot the best and cleanest match I possibly can, when we get down to Alamogordo the next day. And things went well.
So before we leave Roswell, um, I think it was the previous episode, but one of the earlier ones we talked about like what makes a good stage, and I think one of the things we agreed on was a good stage gives you the ability to separate yourself through, I guess, what you could call options, but really the choice to take a riskier approach or a more conservative approach.
Yep.
And well, the match in Roswell was pretty fun. I think every stage pretty much had one clear way to shoot it. And
Yep.
so when
Agreed.
you make an error, it's really hard to claw back from that because you can't do something risky on another stage to try to earn some more points back. You kind of just would kind of hold par with a similar shooter and hope that they have to mess up in that situation. So, what
Exactly.
do you agree with that?
And it's not a slam or anything like that against against Roswell at all. I think the match was great, well organized, great communication. They had a great shooters brief and things like that ahead of time, and the stages were well sorted in a way that it was like, okay, you could read the stage diagram, you could read the written stage briefing, and step right up to the plate and be able to execute. But there really wasn't a lot of like technicality in in that particular match. Everything was pretty, like what I like to call like very kind of one dimensional. Like, okay, you start here and you have to end here, and you just shoot the things in the middle elsewhere. So there really wasn't any options, and which is fine. I think the way they kind of really increased like risk factor or skill set was more in target arrays being at like 17 to 25 ish, 28 ish yards. It was kind of neat, and kind of clever to have like, I think we did like two different like 8-inch plates that had like no shoots behind them. But the 8-inch plates, I think one was at about 10 yards. The other one was at like 20, which was, like I said, that's kind of a neat challenge. But you're right. There wasn't really anything to really differentiate or separate like a higher level shooter from or even the higher level shooters themselves, or even the mid grade shooters. Like everybody's going to kind of basically aim gun at target, press the trigger again, aim gun at next target, and that's about all there was to it. So like I said, it is what it is. We all had to shoot it, and it was still a great time. What a way to spend a Saturday
I would
afternoon.
definitely go back and shoot that match again. I thought it was really fun.
100%.
Um, for that
And the
particular
ribeye
instance,
tacos afterwards were phenomenal.
those were really good. Yeah, I can't remember the name of that restaurant,
I
but if you're in
can't
Roswell, that's
I
worth
can't
checking out.
either.
I want to say
They get
Cantina something.
recommended by the guys there. So
It was, yeah. But yeah, I for sure I would go back, and it was a good time. I think it's hard to come up with stages and build stages, especially when you have like really limited like people helping at the club. And
correct.
obviously, it's a small community in Roswell, but I think they put a lot on
Yep.
and produced a great match. So I hope to get back soon. I really like this doubleheader match weekend, and I think maybe a couple times a year it would be worth going
I
down
agree. I
and doing.
agree. So we
But
did
anyway,
so
so
we did the
yeah,
Roswell match. We helped those guys clean up, put things away, and kind of while we were talking to a few of those guys, we kind of talked three or four of those guys into actually coming all the way over to the Alamogordo match. So from Roswell to Alamogordo is about 2 hours. So, but if like where we were, like Ruidoso is kind of like it kind of splits the two, but just also about 20 or so minutes north, of like en route between the two of those. So we went back to Ruidoso, had killer dinner and wine and things like that at our Airbnb. But it was great to kind of talk some of the Alien City guys there in Roswell to come out the next day to the match in Alamogordo. So
yeah, and the Alamogordo match was I was super impressed. Again, a facility and a club I've never shot at, but I think their club is going to host the New Mexico sectional this
yes,
year, and it's obvious that they're taking that seriously and preparing because they already had what was a nice facility, but when we got there, they were building like at least was it 5 new bays or something like
something like
that,
that.
and
Yeah, it was.
they
I can't remember what the name of that. It's like the Sidney Paul Gibson uh, range, like Memorial Range or whatever. That's been there in Alamogordo for a few years. They've always had a really good, I guess, local match and local turnout. So they pull shooters from like Las Cruces. They also are known to pull shooters from like El Paso, Texas, and those guys will all come up and shoot that match. So, but yeah, I wasn't for sure what to expect because I mean, in the 6 years I've lived in the Albuquerque area, I've never gotten an opportunity to shoot any other local matches or club matches, around the New Mexico area. So I wasn't for sure what to expect. I don't think any of us were. And then when we got there on Sunday morning, like, holy shit, like they've got they got a
Great
hell of a
stage.
facility. So when they said, and I'd heard rumors, they were like, we've added some more bays. And I was like, of course, like how big is this facility there in Alamogordo? I was expecting like true Spartan resources. And we get there and these bays are unbelievable. I mean, the side berms are like 17 foot high. The back berm is like 20, 25 foot high. I mean, it's the floors of the bays are perfectly level. I mean, they've got a lot of equipment, a lot of props, and all kinds of things. And man, the stages, we shot 5 stages or 4 stages with a class fire, so 5 stages, and very well organized. The stages had tons of options on all of them, even some that were kind of like, well, this looks pretty standard, like you start over here and you're going to go over here. And then like you'd go over there and look at something like a different array and you'd be like, wait a minute, what if I go here first? So, I mean, you really had to kind of put your thinking caps on a little bit to kind of problem solve better on those stages. So, but it was great. I think their entire match pulled, what'd she say? I thought the registrant said something like
More than
38 to 40. I think she had 41 truly registered, and I think we had a couple, 2 or 3 drop out, so we ended up with 38 or 39 shooters or something like that for the match. So I mean, for Alamogordo, and if anybody knows anything about Alamogordo, I think we also looked up their population. Like the whole town of Alamogordo has like 36,000 people. So to have 40 shooters signed up to come to that match was really impressive. They put on a
it
hell
was
of a
great.
match.
Well, they're definitely going to pull more Albuquerque people because I want to go there again as well for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Yeah,
I
and
do too.
like you said, the facility, the new berms especially, were all amazing. It felt almost bad to put lead into those things, but
Yeah.
we sure did. And it's interesting, like city, to have the sectional because it's kind of like I think hard logistically for people to get to. But man, once you're there, it's such a convenient range to shoot at.
Agreed.
Not only is it a nice facility as we've expounded on, but it's literally right on the edge of town. I don't think it's possible to be in Alamogordo and be more than 15 minutes from
Oh,
that
dude, yeah.
range.
I mean, in
Yeah.
Alamogordo, like from the range, we got there a little early. The range wasn't open yet, and we drove like 8.5 minutes back down the road and found a couple, like 3 or 4 different coffee shops, and grabbed coffee and breakfast, and then headed back
In a,
to. I mean, it's
in a
very
randomly
convenient
extremely
where it's at.
nice grocery store, that
Right?
Lowe's or
Yeah, the
whatever it
grocery store
was.
had carpet in it. It was crazy.
Yeah, so the facilities, the amenities, I think are there, and it's
Yep.
convenient. You just gotta
It's got
if
plenty of
you're
hotels.
yep,
It's an easy drive from Las Cruces. It's an easy drive from Roswell. It's a damned easy drive from Albuquerque, Santa Fe area, and things. If you're an out of towner and you want to come in and shoot the match, and you decide to fly in, I mean, I think it's an hour and 10 minutes or whatever from El Paso. So I think El Paso Airport was probably the closest airport to fly into. But yeah, I mean, the infrastructure in Alamogordo, I was a little like hesitant at first when they kind of announced at the end of last year at last year's sectional that, hey, next year's New Mexico state match is going to be in Alamogordo. But now I'm super duper excited and stoked to go down there like on that Wednesday before the state match and help them set up and hopefully be able to shoot the match because man, that facility is awesome. They're planning, I think, like 12 stages on
yeah, 2 day two
just
day
as many
format.
berms as they have. So I mean, it's going to be a hell of a time.
It's going to be a legit match for sure. I
100%.
I I agree. When I heard that the sectional was going to be in Alamogordo instead of Albuquerque this year, which makes it super easy for me, I was kind of pissed off honestly, and I didn't get it. I was like, it's going to be horrible. But after being there and seeing the quality of the match that they put on, how awesome the facility is, I'm actually excited to go down. And I'm going to try to lean on some of my friends in other states to come out, even though it's a little bit more of a hassle. I think it's going to be an awesome
Dude,
match.
it's going to be,
And
yeah. I
I,
mean,
I would imagine that so the people who run this local are the Driscolls and the Schutzes, I believe.
uh,
And man, they know what they're doing. Experienced competition people and majors and stuff like that who've been in the game for a long time, and I think
absolutely.
that is where the quality of the match production, especially the stage design, came from. So if that bleeds into the sectional this year, I think we're going to have a freaking great one. So very excited.
100%.
But anyway, so we shot the local there this past weekend,
We did.
and how did that turn out for you?
So I, I was really surprised out of I think they had like 41 registered. There were, I want to say 7 or 8 registered in single stack, including Trevor, the other single stack grandmaster in New Mexico that decided to come over from Artesia and shoot the match with us on Sunday there in Alamogordo. So I think everybody's pretty well ramping up to shoot. I think what is it? Not this not this coming week, but next week is the Western States Single Stack Classic at Rio Salado Range in Phoenix. And so those, I think a lot of folks are trying to ramp up, and get ready for that. So they were running single stack rigs, which was pretty cool to me. Like I've shot state matches that had less people.
The
Unfortunately,
stars
had less people.
to prepare for IPSEC single
Right.
stack.
So I was looking, and that was the whole plan for us to go down and shoot anyway over the weekend. Was like it was a good opportunity for me to be able to get multiple matches in, and kind of like really focus on stagecraft and stage execution, leading up for me to go to the IPSC Extreme match this week, where I'm going to shoot 30 stages in 3 days. So it was really cool. Like I said, it was great to have stages with options where you could, like if you made a mistake on a stage, there was ways to kind of elevate yourself possibly on another stage because of like risk versus reward and different stage plans and being able to play stages to your particular strengths. So I think Trevor and I were pretty tight for the first couple of stages, and then I don't know what happened. I think he maybe picked up a couple of no shoots on a stage or something like that. But yeah, I stayed clean and shot I think only like 21 Charlies for the entire match. And actually, as far as execution wise, me and my little puny 10 round single stack gun, I was able to stay on par with you and Garrett and all of the high cap guys. So there was also Mike Shuroff, who's Air Force shooting team, who's a carry optics grandmaster, as well as God, I can't remember the other gentleman's name, but he's a pilot out at Holloman Air Force Base there too, who's a carry optics master. So I was really proud that I was able to kind of like nip right on your guys' heels shooting the high cap stuff, shooting low cap, and I ended up winning single stack by like 19.5% or something like that. But I ended up fourth, I think fourth overall, and only like not quite 2% off of the high overall combined winner. So yeah, I had a killer match. So
Well,
made me feel
that
really,
sounds
really good and definitely brought my confidence level like through the ceiling, heading into this week. So
good. So the weekend was a success.
100%. 100%.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, congrats on your finish. It was again extremely annoying to see you so close to me
Yeah.
shooting singles.
So enough
But
about
no,
me. How did you do this weekend?
uh, I was pretty happy overall. So in Roswell on Saturday, I kind of put myself in the same position I have in the last couple matches where I make a mistake or have malfunctions early in the match and find myself with a massive points deficit that I need to make up. So at the Roswell match, basically it came down to gear.
Mm-hmm.
I was having magazine problems again. And I think on the first stage, which honestly, I didn't execute the first stage very well at all. So there's a lesson that I've taken from that. But I also had a jam, which slowed me down even more. On the classifier, there's only a couple rounds, and the gun made it through that. But I had a mic and a hardcover, so that's on me. And then on the third stage we shot, I came out hot out of the gate. Like I was absolutely crushing a pretty challenging distant array. Just bam,
Wow.
bam, bam, bam,
It was
bam, bam.
beautiful.
Just calling,
God, it was
yeah, calling the
beautiful.
shot perfectly. Thank you. It felt beautiful. I finally like got dialed in, and I thought that was going to be the start of the turnaround in the match. But then I moved to the last array, and I think it was literally 3 jams where the mags were just nosediving again, and
Yeah.
these were older mags. So I got pretty frustrated. I'll post my video probably on Instagram eventually of that stage. But at the end, at the unload and show clear, I just take my mag out and throw it. I was so sick of that thing. But fortunately, and this goes to show like the kind of caliber of people you get to hang out with in the sport. Jeremy Kirschbaum was just like, "Hey man, why don't you try my mags? Obviously yours aren't working." And I was like, "All right, what can I lose at this point?" So
Hmm.
he lent me some of his mags, some newer, I think Atlas mags, and just sight unseen, I tried those, and those ran great for me for the last 3 stages of the match. So I think I damn near won every one of the last 3 stages, and that was enough
Yep.
to give me the match. So thank you, Jeremy. And again, I feel sad that I put myself into crappy positions, but I feel glad that I have the mental ability now to just persevere and continue to execute, not try to like change things, and just roll with that.
And
So
sometimes
so
it's
that one,
hard, yeah, mentally to come back from those things. You think like, ah, man, I made a mistake, or ah, damn, this happened. And then then you almost get in that like that mindset of like, I have to catch up instead of just like, I need to execute wherever I'm at, like I just need to be able to execute this next stage as well as I should. It then we tend to we try to push, or like Steve Anderson talks about, like rush, try, and hurry. We try to push much harder as if like somehow we're gonna like jump in a time machine and be able to like go back in time and fix all of the mistakes we had prior. And it doesn't work that way. And so like to be able to kind of persevere through those things and then just kind of like get yourself back kind of a neutral state of flow and be like, okay, well, I've got these new magazines. I'm going to try these, and I'm just gonna shoot. I'm going to have confidence that the gear's going to work, and I'm just going to do what I need to do. And you did that brilliantly. So,
well,
and
well,
that's the
thank you.
thing too. Like with Jeremy, talk about an awesome sport, right? Like I have done racing for a number of years, long before I got into shooting. And in racing, I mean, you see it bring out the best of people, but you also see it bring out the worst of people too. And like I've seen competitors, like hard fought competitors, when another competitor has a mechanical issue, where like I've seen competitors kind of be that, like, yes, like, haha, he's not going to beat me today because his stuff broke. And in the shooting sports, we just don't see that. I mean, whether it be a local match or a state match or an area match or a nationals, I mean, like, we really do surround ourselves with like the best folks on the planet. Like Jeremy could have easily been like, ah, sucks to be you. You've got equipment that doesn't work, and really kind of sucked up the win on that. But instead, Jeremy was like, dude, that sucks. Like your magazines, are you sure it's a magazine issue? Well, you know what? Let's dismiss that. Let's try these things first. So, and he loaned you his set of magazines, and I mean, you went on to crush it. Even over Jeremy himself. And it wasn't like, oh man, I can't believe Josh beat me. I mean, he was sincerely happy for you, just as we all were, because we want everybody to be able to perform at their absolute best. And so, I mean, that made me happy to no end.
Well, the true test of character is after I was able to win that match. He continued to let me use his mags for the
Right?
Sunday match. So
Yep.
so that was awesome, and I had zero malfunctions on Sunday using those mags. So that was
Outstanding.
awesome. And yeah, in El Magordo, um, I basically did the same thing on the first stage. I don't know what it was. I think it was extra tension or something, but I was moving through okay. But then I pulled. I think I just squeezed with my hand, shooting at a partial target, and saw it go into the no shoot as I was leaving. So I backed up, had to do the makeup, went through the rest of the stage, and then like basically the last target of that stage, you shoot like a steel and a paper array in front of you, and then you turn 90 degrees and there's like a partial at a reasonable distance, maybe like 18 yards or something like that.
Mhm.
And I went, alpha, no shoot, fuck, alpha. And I did the same thing again. So I started with 2 no shoots on that stage. and the makeup's probably added 2 seconds. So I was pretty well off the pace. And so I think I lost 40, 50 stage points on that because I think it was a 30 or 32 round course. It was the biggest course of that match. All the
Yeah, that
others
was a
were
big
more
stage.
kind of rounds. It was an awesome stage.
It was an awesome
Um,
stage.
Probably, yeah, maybe the best of the match, but there was one
There
other that
were
I thought was
there were two
good.
targets on that particular stage that to me really made the difference in how people walked the stage, right? And that was the like as you took off on the start, you could either go like you could hightail it all the way to the left and shoot three targets on the left around barrels to then have like a no shoot partial that was like through a port. And then if you when you went all the way the other direction, there was another target from the other side of that port that was available there as well. And so I mean just on our squad, I think we had I think we had 9 or 10 shooters on our squad, and there were at least four different plans of like just how people started that stage and how they like kind of how they navigated that port, which was really interesting to see. So some guys went all the way to the left and shot everything, and then went kind of midway to the right, and then stopped, and then turned back on the other hardcover partial that was in there before then kind of moving on. And then other guys decided to kind of step forward or to take it from a different location. I decided to draw stepping forward and take that target kind of on like a kind of a slight pause, slight move out of that position to get rid of that target so I didn't have to turn back on myself and make a hard stop midway through that stage. So, I mean, it was really cool. Like for the stage design, everybody fairly shot kind of the same flow, but just that one element of the stage, like that, that would make or break you, and I thought that was really creative how like as a stage designer, like how they thought of that, like, oh man, there's multitude of ways to shoot this and approach this. How are you going to solve the problem? So that was really cool. Definitely was one of my favorite stages.
One of the better stages I've seen at a local in a very long time. So yeah, so great stage for sure. I managed to f it up pretty good, so so I had to shoot good the rest of the match, right? If I had any hope of trying to win, um, and I did. I just executed. I didn't shoot any more penalties. I think if anything, I probably was a little bit too slow and over confirming.
Mm-hmm.
I think that came out in my time. Usually, I'm pretty quick, but I was close to the CO and everything. People this time, and Michael, the COGM that was there, he was ahead of me by about 1%. So I only got second. But for those critical errors, I was happy with the way I shot the rest of the match, which again shows that I've improved the mental game, which is, for me, is a great win. Now I just need to improve the consistency across the match, especially the beginning, and figure out those things and stop giving away points
Yep.
easily
And
to
that
my
was
competitor.
that was my big like my kind of like my self goal for especially for Sunday was you know each stage is separate. Treat each stage as such, and just like don't make like if you do make a mental error, don't let that error like kind of capitalize onto multiple things. It was just like stay the course, stay the course, stay the course. Like sometimes I've been known to like either get nervous on the first stage and then it's like, once you shoot your first mic or no shoot or whatever, then you're like, oh, okay, the pressure's off. And then you'll have like a stellar match. I've also been on the other end of that coin where it's like, okay, I'll shoot a great match the first 4 or 5 stages out of like a 5 or 6 stage match. And then I get to that last stage and I let that absolute building pressure like overcome me or overwhelm me. And the next thing you know, then I'll make a mental error somewhere else, and it's like, man, I can't seem to shoot a clean match. So like my whole goal here was like, dude, collect points and just treat each stage separately. Like when you're done with this stage, okay, great. Erase it now, good or bad. Just forget about it, let's move on to the next one. And I really felt like, like mentally I was firing on all cylinders when it came to that level of execution. So I'm hoping this week to be able to kind of carry that with me, and especially since it's a not so distant memory now, like while it's still fresh on my mind and that kind of that internal mindset of just like being able to carry that with me as I leave, tomorrow morning for Florida to try to carry that same approach with me there. So,
Yeah, I think a lot of different mental management people say the same thing. It's like you just work your process, and it's so easy to put pressure on yourself. And it's like no matter which way, it's easy to put pressure on yourself. You could be doing bad and be like, "Oh my god, I need to like turn this up and catch up," or you could be
yes.
doing good and be like, "Oh my gosh, I need to maintain this." But really, you just need to do what you know you can do.
Yep.
Shoot your process, shoot your sights.
Yep.
Um, and so it's not rocket science, but man, if it isn't hard to apply.
It is the hardest part.
Yeah. Well, Tim, I'm gonna be eagerly watching the IPSC results as they stream in. It was fun to watch you prepare for this match through several local matches now in Albuquerque and down south, as well as practicing with you a few times. So I really hope you do great, and we'll be keeping an eye on it. I'm not sure when we'll do the next episode, but this was kind of a preparation weekend for me as well. Joe and I are going down to do the Caribbean Open the
And
weekend
that's in
after
I was gonna
next.
say that's in
And
2 weeks. Yeah. So
so we've been ramping up for that, and I'm feeling pretty good. I just want to make sure I can execute on each stage, and if I do that, I think it will not only be a ton of fun, but the match might actually turn out pretty good finish wise. So, uh,
excellent. Excellent.
but I want to see you on the top of that podium for single stack at IPSC. So
I'm sure hoping.
I'm
That's the
sure
goal.
everybody does too. So
Sweet.
I don't think we could have had a better weekend to prep for those matches. So best of luck to you, and thanks again for talking through a little bit of the USPSA shooting life with me.
Yeah. Absolutely. Had a great time.
All right, catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys.